Alright, welcome back everyone to Sherlock Holmes and the Secret of the Silver Earring. I just realized that we have some things to do here. So here we go.
This black cloth is large enough to conceal a person.
Here we go. And we have something here as well. Yes, I did check a walkthrough to get the last things here.
I need something. The tracer powder is located at 1.65 meters from the surface.
And this is a door that leads to... out here! With a twisted down handle, someone could have stood behind the armor.
Handsome armor.
Here we go. Right, so we found some more stuffs. Which is good. Let's see. Alright, so I think we have to...
There's a greasy substance on the door handle. Seems to be a sauce?
Right, now we have to go to... in here, because you actually missed something in here. And the sauce on the door handle. We did miss something over here.
What?
Let's see here. A billion items later. There is something. Aha!
Red greasy hair.
There we go. Some red greasy hair.
I asked myself, what was Watson doing while I was searching the house? He was supposed to prevent people from leaving by the back entrance.
That is what we need to do.
Holmes, the gate.
I know, Watson, but it is of no real consequence. To question all these people would be a tiresome activity and would be of no value to this inquiry. Such ordinary inquiries are best left to the police. They have their purposes.
As you like, Holmes.
Now, Watson, to put your mind at rest, I can see that you have done well in my absence by placing the formidable coachman at the gate. I also imagine you have already spoken with Miss Lambert?
Yes, and some other people too.
Hold your report until our return to Baker Street. Meanwhile, be a good man and look to the gate. I must be informed the moment any official arrives. As always, I depend on your able assistance, Watson.
Alright, so what are we doing now, Holmes? I don't know. Really. Maybe we should talk to... No, maybe not. I have no idea what he wants me to do, though. Okay, Holmes, what is your game? Oh, here we go.
I need something. I need something. It is a size 7.
Okie dokie. Those sound effects, though. I think that is all. Whatever it was we picked up. There we go.
Holmes!
Good day, Lestrade. Your haste deserves comment. One could say that you were right to hurry here, as this case is one of great complexity and challenge. Do not worry. I think that you will manage to get back to your mother before the dinner hour.
In the name of Devil, Holmes, you go too far. Do you spy on me now? How do you know I've been to my mother's?
Dear Lestrade, it is really quite simple. I must admit my mind has been stimulated by the main course, which would be this unique case. However, I sometimes enjoy a light snack of the details which surround it. Observe, we are in the middle of the countryside, and you have some fresh yellow pollen, but only on your right sleeve. This implies a recent gift of flowers. It is a gallant gesture, but surely a meeting with the fairer of our species would take place in London. Considering the promptness of your arrival, it must have been a bouquet of flowers you took to someone who lives in this area. I presume that you have family living nearby, and I would think only your mother would warrant such an attentive gesture. There is a fresh dab of fat at the corner of your mouth, as well as on the bit of handkerchief visible from your pocket. This is consistent with a recent meal of a big piece of steak. Who would make a policeman swallow such a substantial meal at this hour, and when a crime has been just committed? It could only be a mother thinking about the hard task awaiting her child.
Well, Holmes, when you explain it like that, it really seems quite simple. Good show. What about this Bromsby murder?
A unique case, as I've already noted, but any supposition would be premature until we consider Dr. Watson's report, as well as your own findings. Miss Lavinia has asked that the esteemed Dr. Watson and I give this case our full attention, though I doubt she is aware of all the implications of this case. Lestrade, you can find the victim inside, and I recommend calling upon his solicitor, Mr. Horace Fowlett. Mrs. Hudson is cooking a roast tomorrow at noon. Why don't you be our guest, and we can share our discoveries? What do you think? Watson and I must take our leave, as there's much to be done at Baker Street. Are you coming, Watson? Let us return to Baker Street.
Alright, let us return to Baker Street. There we go.
Everything is well noted. Watson, bravo. All of these elements will be a great help to us. As for myself, I have already told you everything that I know, and I can tell you nothing more until I receive answers to the messages I've sent with Wiggins. Now I must return to my experiments to test my theory regarding the substance I found at the scene of the murder. Meanwhile, I suggest you look through the books in the bookcase. Information that you find there might prove very useful in resolving this case.
I have to check 3 books on the shelves. Let's see.
Alright, so their apartment is very different. Except that Holmes still has... Watson still has the pleasure of having the harpoon above his door from the Black Peter case. And Holmes still has the gun over his door over there. And they have the fireplace in between them. I don't see Holmes's knife with correspondence. But they definitely have the door for coming into their apartment on the other side of their apartment. It's over here, while in the other newer games, it's over here. Their table is also not in the middle. I don't know where the settee comes from, and yeah, their apartment has definitely changed through these games. So we'll see here. But some of the sound effects are just the same. Definitely. Do you have the book you need? A cigarette butt. Can I get out of here? Apparently not. Uh-huh. Oh, there are some books over here too. Alright, game. Apparently I've clicked too much. All the sound effects are coming now. What am I doing? Oh, they are here. Oh, okay. Book about footprints, ballistic science, and study of tobacco. We have all the books. Okay. We can deduce the height and mass of any individual, and this is Holmes has written this, through a simple examination of their footprints left upon the ground. This is possible even should their stride be unremarkable. The stride is often shortened when an individual is moving with great caution to avoid detection, either prior to or immediately after they have committed a crime. This hypothesis corresponds to almost every case. There are some exceptions. False conclusions are possible when the person who left the footprints comes from a region of the world where the morphology in regards to the feet is unusual. Consider the Chinese tradition imposed upon females born of noble families. They are compelled by such traditions to have their feet bound and squeezed from a tender age till the day of their wedding. This creates a significant disparity between the size of their feet, artificially derived of their natural growth, and the rest of their body. The probability of encountering such anomalies is remote. However, this work would not be complete if they were not included. The following table indicates the correlation between shoe size and the average stature of people. Size 10, 1.9 meters. Size 9.5, 1.85 meters. Size 9, 1.8 meters. Size 8.5, 1.76 meters. Size 8, 1.72 meters. Size 7.5, 1.68 meters. Size 7, 1.64 meters. And size 6.5, 1.6 meters. Same reasoning applies to stoutness. It is logical to presume that a corpulent man will leave deeper impressions in the soil than a leaner man. You should adapt your interpretation of these footprints to consider the type of stride. A running man will leave his mark, as we have noted, with a deeper impression at the toes in relation to the entire footprint. In regards to a typical or reduced stride, you need to walk beside the footprints and compare the respective impressions. If yours are deeper, it means that the author of the studied impressions is lighter in weight than you are, and vice versa. Due to the effect of various conditions such as a lawn, the ground may not be susceptible to this form of analysis. From our experience, when the footprints are barely detectable in grass, as when the ground is scarcely broken, the person's weight is no more than 140 pounds. Ballistic science. Popularization of ballistic science by S.H. Holmes. I think he's written all of these, actually. Thus, it is easier to derive information about the author of a revolver shot if we know that they had aimed with great care. The situation is ideal if the shooter was in an enclosed space. Under pressure, a portion of the powder normally adheres to the walls at the level of the shooter's eyes. It is enough to add approximately 15 centimeters to the height of the powder marks to arrive at an approximation of the shooter's stature, accurate to within 1 or 2 centimeters. Study of tobacco. Actually, this is The Source of Tobacco by M. Palin Explorer. After authorization, this local herb is mixed with tobacco leaves in the manufacture of cigarettes, primarily by the Chiripaqui Company. It is unlikely that this particular blend of tobacco would be found any place other than Brazil, or even outside the Amazonian basin, primarily because the calming effect of this tobacco mixture is a significant cause of industrial and agricultural decline in the production of this tobacco. It is common to encounter a Brazilian peasant who indifferently watches a bird steal the tobacco seeds that he has just planted in the ground. Invariably, you will also observe a small pile of the flaky ash characteristic of this tobacco near his feet.
Here is information which could be really helpful in our investigation. These Chiripaqui cigarettes come from Brazil, and they seem to contain narcotic substances. What might they be?
I need to analyze the evidence found at Sherringford Hall. A piece of white cloth, a small box, various powders, and finally the hair. Let's get to work.
I don't know why Watson was suddenly talking so low.
I need to analyze the evidence found at Sherringford Hall. A piece of white cloth, a small box, various powders, and finally the hair. Let's get to work.
Okay. See here.
To analyze the nature of these stains, I must first soak the cloth in a solution of soap and water.
Oh, we don't have soup there. Soup. There's no soup in the water. Where do you have soap then, mister? I don't know what I'm doing. Sure is great. Oh, there's soap.
To analyze the now, I shall place this cloth in the solvent.
In the solvent.
Now I shall place... The stains are sticky, but not very oily.
Okay.
Let's examine it under the microscope. A very fine white cotton.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we were done with that now. Okay, cool.
Let's examine it under the microscope. Let's examine it under the microscope. Let me study this more closely.
I don't know what happened.
Let's examine it. Let's examine it under the microscope. Let's examine it under the microscope. What would be the reaction if I heated this powder? Burnt gunpowder.
Uh-huh.
Let's examine it under the microscope. Let me study this more closely.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. Whoops. Can I do this?
A box containing
Yes.
some white powder. Let's examine it under the microscope. These powders are similar. I can see it from the grains. What would be the reaction if I heated this powder?
Let's
It has
check.
no effect.
Get out! Oh, it's no effect.
Let's mix some water with this powder.
Oh.
Let's mix a glue or pasty substance, like starch.
Okay, cool. Flaky ash? Nope.
Let's examine it under the microscope. A man's hair. Let's examine it under the microscope. A light feminine perfume.
Okay.
It seems to me that we have gathered all of the key elements, Watson. However, before we retire, let's summarize our findings. The questions should be answered yes or no and justified by the evidence or testimony received during the investigation.
Okay. To answer a question, first choose yes or no by clicking on it, then browse your testimonies, reports, and documents on the left page to find the one that contains a justification to the answer. Click your decided answer to select it, then click on the appropriate frame on the quiz page to place your answer. Once you have answered all the questions, close the notebook. You will then be informed if your replies are correct or if there was a mistake. If the latter occurs, open the notebook again and rectify your answers. Question 1. Do you have an idea of the weapon used for the crime? Yes. Because... because he said that he heard it. Oh, here we go. Oh no, these are from... No, I still think this. Aha, there we go. Could the murderer escape through the stairs going to the second floor? No. Actually, they could, but Mary, I'm going to go with no. Question 3. The ashes found in the smoking room are from English cigarettes. No. Because... study of tobacco. And something red. Aha, now I see. Rice powder. Let's see here. Here. Was the side door going to kitchen open after the shot? Side door going to the kitchen. No, wait, no, because he said that he was standing there all the time. It's the blue one, yeah. Lamb. Yeah. And no. Did Miss Lambert choose tablecloths and arrange tables? No. First of all, she did say it herself. And someone else also. Was it Mary who said? No, it was the cook, right? Yeah, it was the cook. Here we go. Do we have an idea of the murderer's height? Yes. No, wait, not that. Gunpowder. And something here. Ballistic science. This is the last question. Okay, among the interrogated people, did any others than Colonel Patterson have bad eyesight? Oh no, not that. Miss Lambert. Yes, I think so.
We must have made an error, Watson. Let's check our answers. The questions should be answered yes or no and justified by the evidence or testimony received during the investigation. We must have made an error. The questions should be answered yes or no and justified by the evidence or testimony received during the investigation.
No, there's definitely more than one person who has an X or a circle, and so there's someone more than him who has bad eyesight, yes. The murderer's height. Okay, fine. Let's do this instead.
We must have made an error. The questions should be answered yes or no and justified by the evidence or testimony received during the investigation.
No, this gunpowder, of course.
We must have made... The questions should be answered yes or no and justified by the evidence or testimony received during the investigation.
Maybe it's this one then. No, it wasn't, but it was someone else. Someone else was trying to run out and the door was closed. Here we go. It was this dude.
We must have made an... The questions should be answered yes or no and justified by the evidence or testimony received during the investigation.
Now, found in a smoking room. Well, this has nothing to do with the smoking room. There I see. Here we go. Boom. In the smoking room. The ashes found in the smoking room are from English cigarettes. I don't know. How am I supposed to know this? Because this has nothing to do with... This is outside, of course, but... maybe this works now.
It is simplicity itself,
yes.
Watson.
There we go.
We have answered all the questions.
I had the wrong thing about gunpowder height. Oh. Lestrade, walking through carriages.
My dear Lestrade, I congratulate you on the precise quality of your notes. It is true that you have missed everything of importance, but you have spared me the trouble of eliminating the trifles and pointed me in the right direction. I hear familiar steps on the stairs. Please be seated, Watson. You must be famished. Lestrade was kind enough to bring a copy of his notes, hoping it would be of assistance in this affair.
Indeed.
You can study them now and enjoy your meal. Please take your time, Watson, because bad digestion weakens our ability to reason.
Holmes, you will get no argument from me, as this dish is delicious.
We will go to Sherringford Hall with Lestrade when you are finished with your meal.
I must read the documents Holmes gave me.
Alright, let's read the documents Holmes gave us, and oh my gosh, Lestrade, why are you sitting inside our table? Dude, rude! You're ruining the table. Okay. Documents. It was cool how they had the quiz, I gotta say. Oh my gosh, can I read this? I'm not playing full screen. I managed to force the game into windowed mode, so it's a little small, but we'll see. Report on the investigation. The case of Sherringford Hall, Inspector in Charge Lestrade. 14th of October 1897. Oh, this is way after the other games. Oh, interesting. Before 11 o'clock in the evening, Sir Melvin Bromsby, engineer, architect, and contractor of renown, was slain by a single gunshot in his mansion, Sherringford Hall. The crime, the author of which is still undetermined, took place in the ballroom during the reception arranged by the victim in honor of his daughter's return to England. She had spent the last several years at finishing school on the continent. Despite the presence of 100 witnesses, no precise testimony was obtained regarding the exact circumstances of this horrific act. Nevertheless, based upon certain evidences, there is a presumption of suspicion towards the daughter of the victim, Miss Lavinia Bromsby. Report by Inspector Lestrade, 4th of October 1897, blah blah. Instrument of crime. The bolt extracted from the corpse of the victim corresponds to the caliber of the revolver found in Miss Lavinia Bromsby's purse. This purse, found on the floor, was near the door from which Miss Lavinia Bromsby first appeared after the mortal shot was fired. All the witnesses agree that the sound of the shot originated at or near this very same doorway. The revolver is one small bore right, which is also a highly reliable weapon. This would explain why the only shot fired was mortal, despite a distance of several dozen feet and a difficult angle. Miss Lavinia claims that the victim personally gave her this revolver before the crime for the purpose of her protection against some unnamed threat. This account can be supported by the fact that these models are impossible to find on the continent where Miss Lavinia has spent these last years. Premeditation can be excluded if she is found to be the murderer. Motive. The victim, even if he had few or even no friends, still might not have enemies capable of committing this act. His strong unpopularity among his domestics was compensated by the attractive wages he paid them. His business partners spoke of him as a tough but fair player, according to the criterions of this environment. The fact that he spent long years in India and was solely devoted to his business precludes any crime of jealousy or passion. Finally, the modus operandi doesn't correspond to the typical revenge killing by this or that Hindu sect, though these things do happen. The motive then must apply to his holdings or something quite personal, another line of reasoning that points to Miss Lavinia Bromsby. According to H. Grimble, the partner of Sir Bromsby, her relationship with her father had become so strained that Sir Bromsby visited his daughter only once during these past 6 years. A local constable must contact Mr. H. Fowlett, the attorney of Sir Bromsby, in order to recover the essential parts of his last will and testament, if it exists. The development. With regard to the distance of the angle of shooting, it would be reasonable to suppose that only an expert marksman could have succeeded in making such a shot, but the factor of probability still exists and admits other possibilities. Testimony of the group of cabmen who were in the ideal place to observe such matters saw no one leave through the service door after the shooting and up until the time when one of the domestics locked it from the outside. All the windows are equipped with thick bars, and the fortuitous presence of the maid at the stairwell indicates that no one ascended to that floor. Testimony of Miss Lambert, the governess, indicates that she noticed only 2 people absent from the hall room during Sir Bromsby's arrival: Mr. Horace Fowlett, the victim's attorney, and Miss Lavinia Bromsby. The domestics had been specifically instructed that all the guests were to be present during Sir Bromsby's entrance. I have been persuaded by all accounts that anyone who had left the ballroom had returned before Sir Bromsby's entrance. Since Horace Fowlett hasn't gone through the gates of mansion of Sherringford Hall, the only person whose movements weren't accounted for at the time of the shooting is Miss Lavinia Bromsby. The chivalrous testimony of a young infantry officer who has confirmed that he saw her standing at the threshold of the door can be the only reason for not charging her with murder. As Miss Bromsby was in a state of deep shock last evening, according to the local doctor who examined her, her interview was delayed until today. General information about the man called Sir Melvyn Bromsby. No official involvement as a defendant in any criminal or civil matter. No appearance as a witness in a criminal or civil law code. Complainant as to a robbery committed at a fair stand in St. Bartholomew's on July 1861. Judgment of the court was favorable for the Aron? I don't even know what it says, but anyways. Melvyn Bromsby. Dear Sherlock, here's all the information that we know about the late Sir Melvyn Bromsby. Born in 1842 in Staffordshire of a modest family, he finished his studies of architecture and civil engineering owing to the scholarship and financial assistance of his elder sister, who owned a florist shop. After he was awarded his diploma, he was employed by a small firm which he later left for a large enterprise, the Salinger Company. In 1872, he was sent to India to assist in the construction of a bridge for the army. At the end of this project in 1874, he left his position with Salinger and founded his own enterprise in Bombay. At that same time, he courted Carlotta Campbell, the second daughter of Colonel Campbell, OBE, commander-in-chief of an important local garrison. The military appreciated Bromsby's straightforwardness and business acumen. Thus, the army entrusted him with many contracts for constructing barracks and other types of work. In 1877, he was married to Carlotta. His business flourished and he hired a young accountant, Mr. Grimble, who later became Bromsby's personal assistant. An ideal candidate for the position, Grimble excelled at his various administrative tasks. Sir Bromsby's business has continued to prosper over the years. In 1879, Carlotta Bromsby, née Campbell, died giving birth to their daughter Lavinia. Bromsby's business enjoys great success. However, the fact that he has been awarded nearly all of the Army civilian contracts has aroused the jealousy and suspicion of the British businessmen in India, of other British businessmen in India. It has been rumored that he gained his fortune through the exploitation of his Indian labourers and British workmen, poor working conditions and miserable wages. In 1884, upon learning of the death of his elder sister, he decided to return home and prepared the transfer of his business interests to England. He also invested his money in several cement factories, which permitted him to reduce his costs further and thus increase his profits. In 1891, he sent his daughter to study at a finishing school near St. Moritz, something like that, in Switzerland. She has just returned to England several days ago. He was awarded a knighthood in 1892. There are several cases where his name has been mentioned because of suggested fraud with his contracts and ill usage of convict labourers at his factories. Such practices are common in London business circles, and his wealth allowed him to avoid scrutiny by the courts. Thus, when his behaviour is weighed within the current climate of commercial morality, he is neither angel nor demon. Assuming his business assets are included, his current fortune would be measured in the tens of thousands of pounds. That would make him one of the wealthiest constructors in Britain. I wish you good luck in this case. Someone.
All this is very interesting. According to the evidence, it seems that the shooter was not in the ballroom or the corridor. Where was he then?
Are you finished, Watson? Shall we go? Let us return to Sherringford Hall.
Let's do, but in the next episode. Alright, thank you all very much for watching. Hope you're enjoying Sherlock Holmes and the Secret of the Silver Earring so far. And I will see you all later.